Archaic Records.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Archaic Records here with you again. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're going to take a quick look back at the newest record by British Boot Boys Crown Court. The name of their new album is Heavy Manners. And despite the fact that this record came out earlier this year, it's a record I want to go back and take a look at, because as I was beginning to sort of take inventory and compile my thoughts on some of the records that came out in 2023, trying to put them in order for my top 5 favorite records of the year episode. This was an album that missed the cut by just the slightest margin. I think this was probably my 6th favorite record of 2023. So despite the fact that it came out back in the spring, it's still a record that I wanted to go back and take a look at today. Crown Court formed in London, England in 2013. I have been a fan of this band, I would say, for a fair amount of time. I really loved their record Capital Offense. I do think that this record, Heavy Manners, is better. I think that this is the best record of theirs that I've heard, at least up to date. Now, if you're looking for something that is artsy or subtle, with lots of complicated time signature changes and obscure sci-fi literary references, you might want to try shopping in a different store, because this record is 12 songs and 32 minutes of straightforward, sleek, streamlined, no gimmicks, no frills, just street punk rock and roll. If you are sort of unfamiliar with the band Crown Court, I would describe this band as being devoutly working class. Anybody not associated with that sort of socioeconomic position in life is at risk of being put in the band's crosshairs and really shown little or no mercy at all. If you are a fan of bands like Razorcut, Haymaker, Seaside Rebels, Foreskins, I think that this is a band that you would really love. I mentioned earlier that this is one of my favorite records of 2023, but apart from that, I also think it is one of the most important records of 2023. I think for the continued health and wellness of punk rock in general, or especially, the sort of oi street punk scene, I think it needs records like this. Sometimes, especially contemporarily, sometimes these records have a tendency to become watered down. And this record is a boot to the face, angry, one tempo, hostile. I love it. The record kicks off with a song called Left for Dead. It's funny, this song begins with about a 90-second, really beautiful classical score. Kind of lulls you to sleep a little bit. You're like, oh man, this is quite lovely. And then after that, it just drops the brutality on you like an anvil in those old Looney Tunes cartoons. It's a great song. It's pure rage. It sets a great tone for the record. After that, the second song on this record is a song called Rich Boy. This is actually one of my favorite songs on the record. Now, there's really not much bad on this record. I think there might be one song on this record that I would say is kind of, like borderline clunkage. But I really love this song. This is a song that I love listening to on my morning commute. It kind of gets me emotionally prepared for the powdered assery that I have to deal with on a daily basis. I think I've mentioned on this channel before, I work in a very exclusive, affluent suburb of Nashville. And this song kind of gets me mentally prepared to deal with what I'm forced to deal with on the daily basis. One of my favorite songs on the record, the next song after that, is a song called Nothing Known. I really love the guitar intro on this song. It starts off a little bit down-tempo, and, when I say a little bit down-tempo, I mean slightly down-tempo, kind of, you feel like the song's going to go in a different direction, and then immediately slams your fingers in the car door again. I really love the song Nothing Known. After that, Another song is, the next song is a song called Pavement Duties, a song about kind of gritty urban life. This song, it really makes me miss, I live in Nashville now, but I've lived all over the country in my day. I've lived in some cities that had a little bit more salt on the rim than Nashville does. And this song kind of makes me miss living in more of a gritty urban environment. I tend to be really attracted and drawn to cities that have like a little bit of dirt under their fingernails. Maybe that's because I've spent so much of my adult life living in Oakland. I also lived in New Orleans for a couple of years. My wife and I also lived in Milwaukee for a couple of years. Those are all cities, that have a little bit of bite to them. Now, there's nothing really bad you can say about living in Nashville. Nashville is a very nice place to live. That's how I describe it. It's not necessarily very exciting all the time, but it is a very nice place to live. It's very clean. It's very safe. You can pretty much go anywhere you want around town without feeling as if you are taking your life in your own hands, which is something that always makes me laugh. When you meet somebody who is from Nashville, who likes to sort of portray themselves as being kind of a thug, like, yeah, from the 615 blood. It's like, oh God, watch out for that guy. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I also, like I said, I work in a very affluent suburb. And sometimes dealing with clients, I will tell people that I live in Nashville, in the city of Nashville. And it'll like boggle their mind, like, whoa, man, Nashville is sketchy. You're just like, man, you are pretty sheltered. But anyway, the song Pavement Duties, it really makes me homesick to live in like a more urban environment. Like I said, you can't really complain too much about living in Nashville except for the fact that it feels like a giant strip mall. It doesn't have like a ton of character, and it really doesn't have much diversity or like edge to it. And that's something I've always kind of liked about some big cities. The next song after that is a song called 2 O'Clock Hero. This song is about the guy in the pub who gets a few rounds deep and then basically goes on a mission to find himself a good old-fashioned tussle. Now, I'm not much of a fighter. I never really have been. But this song reminds me of a friend I used to have who I became friends with when I lived in Seattle, and he was a really great guy, really. He was somebody that I became friends with through our, mutual interest in music. He collected records. He was really a sweet, lovable, nice guy until he started hitting the bottle. And then he became, I know this is a really bad cliche, but it was really sort of a Jekyll and Hyde type of scenario where we would go out, we'd go to a show, and he would get a couple drinks in him, and he would immediately want to start picking fights with people. Now, he was kind of a little dude, and I think you could make the argument. Now, I'm no psychologist, but I think you could make the argument that the guy suffered from Napoleonic complex. I remember specifically one night he and I went to a show in Seattle. We were going to go see the band Helicopters. And before the show, he and I had pre-gamed somewhere. I think we pre-gamed at his house before we went out, which I sort of knew was a mistake at the time, but I still participated. And he and I got to the venue. Of course, we had to go into the bar. And really, immediately, he just zeroed in on the biggest guy sitting at the bar. And basically, like a little chihuahua, started, nipping at his ankles. I remember specifically the guy we were behind him. The guy was facing the bar. He didn't even turn around and look at us. For some reason, my friend just really took exception to this gentleman. And I remember the guy very, without any emotion or any sort of warning, there was a beer bottle sitting on the bar in front of him. And as my friend kept harassing him, unprovokedly, by the way, the guy took the beer bottle and over his shoulder, without even really looking, Smashed my friend in the face with the beer bottle. Next thing I know, we are at the emergency room. My friend is getting his forehead stitched up, which looking back on it, it really wasn't all that bad because I've never been a fan of helicopters. That wasn't a show that I wanted to go to anyway, so I guess there was a silver lining in that cloud. But it became such an issue with that guy that I eventually quit hanging out with him. I'm a pretty non-confrontational person. I am not somebody who goes out looking for fights. I believe I've told you on this channel in the past, when I do drink, which is not very often these days, I tend to be the I love you guy. I am a big cuddly teddy bear. I want to be everybody's best friends. I can never relate to the guy who does that, the guy who gets, a few deep. I even told the guy one time, I was like, dude, why do you drink? You turn into such an ass. Every time you drink, you get so angry. If that was my reaction to it, I wouldn't even want to drink. Now, I know that's a simplistic way of looking at it. I know that things like addiction are complicated. I would say the guy definitely had a drinking issue. But I was like, dude, you turned into such a fucking asshole. For me, the last straw was one time he and I were leaving a show, which we made it through, thankfully, and we caught a cab home, and he ended up getting into a physical altercation with the cab driver while we were driving. For me, I was like, done. I'm good. I basically got out of the car and walked home. I don't know what happened after that between him and the cab driver. I assume the cab driver either kicked his ass or called the police, one of the two, because that was the thing, too. The guy liked starting fights, and he always got his butt kicked every time. So it's kind of like Rocky in the movie Rocky before he gets a chance with Apollo Creed. Anyway, the next song after that is a song called Striped Up, Sent Down. I believe this song is about being sent to the cooler. Great song. I really love this song. I really love the video. This was the first song I heard off of the record because I did see the video on YouTube. The next song after that is a blistering song called Kids of the 20s. Again, rage just drips from every pore on this song. I think this is one of the most brutal songs on the record, which is saying a lot because this record it's just doused in brutality. This is one of the heaviest songs on the record. After that, the next song is a song called Sect 59. This is a little ditty about grand theft, joyriding, and just general shenanigans. I love this song. Musically, this is probably another one of my favorite songs on the record. I've always been a very law-abiding citizen in my day, so I haven't ever stolen a car or gone joyriding, but this song makes it sound like it could be a fun evening with the fellas. After that, the next song is a song called No Face, No Case. This is, I think, the one song on the record that I don't really love. It's not that it's a bad song. It's not a bad song. To me, it's just like very anonymous. It's again like I think with a record like this, when you kind of get the one tempo, the one emotion, the fire, the fierce, the ferocity the whole time. There's bound to be a song that just kind of blends in with all the rest. There's nothing bad about the song. There's nothing that really stands out about it. I can't even really understand what he's saying lyrically in the song and vocally. So if I had to pick a least favorite song on the record, that would be it. Don't come looking for me. I still like the record a lot. It's just, I think the one song on the record that to me, it's like, okay, it's not bad. I don't know if it's necessarily skippage or not, but it's definitely not as snug as a lot of the other songs on the record. The next song after that is a song called The Scum. Another song that is a little bit down-tempo. And when I say a little bit down-tempo, I just mean slightly down-tempo. I mean, this song is just pure, uncut, righteous, hatred. I mean, this isn't the kind of hatred you get from the guy in the corner. This is uncut, pure, righteous hatred. In my life, I have sort of made it a point to get rid of a lot of my bitterness and my anger when it's possible. No, which is not to say I don't love listening to angry music. I love this record. This may be one of the angriest records I listen to all year, and I absolutely love it. But as far as me and my personal life, I made a personal decision a long time ago. I had to kind of let go of some of that stuff. I do not believe in holding grudges in any way, shape, or form at this point in my life. I try to be as live and forgive as possible. That being said, I would say there's probably 2 or 3 people in my life that I genuinely hate. And this song makes me think of one of them. I'm not going to mention any names on this channel. But when I lived up in Milwaukee, I had a boss who was just one of those people in the world, you've probably met them, that just has 0 redeeming qualities. The guy was pure scumbag. He was a liar. He was a thief. He was one of those people that I think if you ever caught him actually telling the truth about anything, half his teeth would fall out. So he's the guy I think of when I think of this song, The Scum. It does make me feel better when I think about that guy, because I think deep down he knows that he's just trash. The next song after that is probably my favorite song on the entire record, a song called Mad in England. This song was originally released in 2018. The song starts off with a very nice spoken word piece about the horrors of gentrification, and being faced with the reality that you can no longer, live in your own home. This is a song and dance that I'm all too familiar with, sort of being economically evicted from my home in Oakland. Oakland is a place that I still love with all of my heart, and I miss every day. I always tell people, I may live in Nashville, but my heart is in Oakland. And that's something that, none of those rich fucks can ever take away from you. Don't tell us what we can and can't do. Actually, we're developing technology that will enable landlords to charge rent for fond memories. Nerds. I love this song, though. It is one of my favorite songs on the record. This is like the great thing, it's like the beautiful thing about, places like San Francisco is they love to portray themselves as being like ultra liberal, like, hey, look at us, kumbaya. But, at the end of the day, when it comes to the working class, or it comes to communities of black and brown people, places like San Francisco basically say to those people, why don't you hit the fucking bricks? So you've got these neighborhoods that have history, that have, cultural identity, that are being, systematically sanitized, by the highest bidder, which is sad. To me, it has resulted in making San Francisco one of the least interesting cities in the country, which, if you think about it, is hard to imagine. I mean, San Francisco is the birthplace of the counterculture, summer of love, gay liberation, radical politics. And now, basically, all you've got there is 900,000 nerds saying, I work at Google. Fuck you! Anyway, the song ends with an album called The 33rd. I really like this song. I'm not going to go on a big tirade about this song like I did the last one, but it ends the album. It is a good song. It pretty much continues the same angry, violent tone that the rest of the record continues. Anyway, like I said, this record, in my opinion, gets a solid A. This is my 6th favorite record from 2023. Like I said, it came out in the spring, but I did want to touch on it because I do love it so much. If you're looking for 30 minutes of just straightforward, fist down your throat, steel-toed boot to the Onions, street punk rock and roll, I think you would love this record. I mean, if nothing else, put this thing on your workout playlist. Just get all pumped up with that. That's if nothing else, it's good for that. This record is great, though. Go out and check it out if you haven't. It is called Heavy Manners by British Boot Boys, Crown Court. Anyway, man, thank you so much for checking out this video. This is Archaic Records. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. Be sure to go out and support your local record store. Listen to Heavy Manners by Crown Court. You will not be disappointed. Check back every week for Morrissey Monday, my weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths, as well as other record content throughout the week. And until next time, my friends, talk to you then.